Right, we're live. Hi, hello, Mary. I decided this week to do something a little bit different. I thought I'd bring Mary Turley into my studio virtually and introduce her to everyone, and talk to her about her business, Wonky Wheel of Finchingfield, which is a lovely gallery. It's beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
when I met Mary, she told me that this had always been her dream. And I just thought, what I think has happened during this pandemic and lockdown, 2020 has been so difficult for so many people. I think it's really nice to talk to somebody who had a dream and who managed to make it work. And so, Mary, can you tell us the story about why you always wanted a gallery and how all this came about?
Well, it all started from my grandmother because when I was 3 years of age, my grandmother gave me a set of knitting needles. And I have a condition called scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. And because it was a farm that we grew up, so we lived in Dublin Monday to Friday, and then not every weekend, but most weekends, we would go down to Granny on the farm and help her because Granny had a big farm. She had a dairy farm, but she also had a lot of sheep. So my dad used to go down and help, and my mum. But because of my health, they didn't not allow was probably the wrong word, but anyway, they kept me indoors with Granny. So whatever Granny did, I wanted to do. So Granny gave me a set of knitting needles at the age of 3. I used to sit on her table and watch her sew, watch her cook, and that's where it all began. And then my mom used to work in this shop in Dublin, and she worked in it since she was 16 years of age. And then my dad was a builder in Dublin. So what used to happen was when dad used to have to go and do work in the evenings, mom used to bring us to the shop and leave us with the owner of the shop in their sitting room and watching television. But I would sneak out to the shop and start playing shop while my mom was working. So that's where the love of working in a shop used to come from. So the combined two of my love of being creative and working in a shop has always been there since I was a very young age. And then I did go into retail. So I left school and I went and studied fashion and textiles. But the Irish economy ballooned. I was working for Marks and Spencer's at the time. And basically, I ended up working in human resources for the last 20 years. And following all of that, I then decided, well, I needed to go back to where everything started. And that's where I kind of changed my life completely. 3 years ago, I got divorced. I moved to Essex. I was in Suffolk, moved to Essex, and everything just fell into place. I drove down. If you come to Finchingfield, there's a beautiful hill that you kind of sweep down as I'm doing the motions. You sweep down and you come to this bridge and this pond. And I drove in and I just went, oh my God, this place is so lush. I want to live here. So I found a house, moved here. It's a project. And then I was sitting naughtily at work one day where I should have been reviewing 15 pages of notes. And I was looking on Rightmove, and a unit in Finchingfield that I'm currently sitting in came up for rent. And I went and looked at it. That said, right, this is brilliant. Lovely view over the pond. Went to Budapest for a week, wrote my business plan, worked it all out, came back, had a second viewing of the shop, signed the contract, and then went into work and resigned. Hey ho,
Wow.
here I am.
Well, Mary, I'm going to actually bring in a picture of Finchingfield and of your gallery because so people can see what you're talking about how beautiful it is. And I just want to say hello, Steffi. Hello, Olivia. We've got people watching from France, from London. So it's lovely to see everybody here listening to Mary's story. So here is the view that Mary saw when she decided that she really wanted to have this gallery, which is, and I know this view from having gone to the gallery, and the little window below the clock. I always do that. I want to point and show people what this is ridiculous and realize that it doesn't work, does it? So the window below the clock is the gallery window, and Mary is actually sitting in the gallery as she speaks to us tonight. So, I mean, I think that's an amazing story, and I think wow, to have taken that leap and just gone into it, I think is fantastic. It's so courageous. I think there are lots of people who would love to be full-time artists or love to do something in particular, and it's often so difficult to know where to start and to take that leap. And so it's amazing to hear your story, and I love you talking about your grandmother, because I think I now I understand more about where your inspirational person exhibition idea comes from. That we all have one person somewhere in our lives that sort of starts the plants the seed, starts the spark of inspiration, and that's where it all comes from, and that's how we get started, whether it's on our painting or our, as you say, our knitting or our having a business. Creating is an inspirational spark, and somebody has to light that fire. So did your grandmother did your grandmother realize that she had actually inspired you to be so creative?
She did, because, well, when she gave me the knitting needles at the age of 3, my dad's sisters, so my dad has quite a few sisters, and my dad's sisters never thought that I would sit still long enough to actually learn how to knit. So they were all amazed. And my Auntie Katie still says to me today, I actually am still amazed, because I have a niece and she's 3, and if I gave her a set of knitting needles now for her to sit still and to learn how to knit, she probably wouldn't do it. But I'm a very visual person, so I learn a lot of things visually. And for her to teach me to knit visually was, I can read a pattern, but her teaching me was the bit that, and spending that time, your parents are so busy, making sure that you have the right school stuff, you've got the right food, you've got the right everything in your life. And sometimes they just don't have that time to sit with you, where Granny did. And it wasn't just knitting, but the knitting is where it all begun. But it was, she gave me my chores, which was to dust down the sitting room and to help her clean and whatever. And then we would bake the scones and bake the bread. She used to bake brown soda bread every day. So we baked the bread and we baked the scones. So therefore then when the people come in out of the farm, when my mom and dad and my dad's brothers and my brother would come in out of the farm, they had fresh bread for their lunch that day, and the scones. And this is where my love of scones comes from, because of my grandmother. And it was ingraining all of those behaviors of being creative, whether it was baking or whether it was sewing or knitting, because she used to sew as well. So you used to sit in the sewing, by the table and sew. And if it wasn't, I suppose she gave me the inspiration to be creative. But then my dad's sisters that also lived in Dublin also helped me. All in different ways. They all gave me a piece of skill. There's my dad's 3 sisters, Eileen, Emily, and Casey. They all spend time with me, giving me different skills of being creative. And I think it's that homing of all those skills is what has given me what I am doing today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to be able to pass on to somebody else the love of being creative. I had a grandmother who was a baker and did a homemaker as well, and that's wonderful. I want to now sort of just show everyone. I know we can see that you're sitting in the gallery, but you sent me a lovely photograph, which I thought would be really nice for people to see, of you standing smiling in the gallery. And I'm very proud to say with some of my paintings on the wall behind you. And so, the gallery is such a lovely, bright space. I wondered if you could tell us, because I remember when you contacted me, and I think it was via Instagram that you found me, and I got the sort of email out of the blue saying, I'm opening a gallery next year, and would you be interested in being one of the artists that we represent? And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. Hadn't thought about it. Didn't know about you, obviously, because you hadn't got started yet. How do you choose your artists? How do you find them? What is what's the magic juice for you?
The juice for me is that piece of painting that fights a light in my gut, if that makes sense, that I feel that talks to me, that I can stand over that piece of art or that piece of pottery or that whatever it is, that I can stand over that piece of work and be able to sell it on behalf of the artist. I've got 42 artists in this room, and I represent every single one of them every day of the week, whether it's online or whether I have my shop open. And I represent them, and I have to be able to stand over that piece of work and be able to sell it on behalf of them. If I can't do that, then they're not going to be in my gallery. And that's the hard and fast rule for me.
That's fantastic. So basically, you have to really feel a connection to each and every piece of art that is in your gallery. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because I've always been struck by the fact that, you know, periodically I'll get an email from you where you'll say, you know, can I come and have another look around your studio? You know, I want to actually refresh what we've got in the gallery. And, you know, you'll spend, you know, a good hour and a half. We'll have a cup of coffee. We'll sit in my studio. We'll go through all the browsers, and you'll have a look at all the new work that's on the walls. And we'll pick a theme. And, you know, obviously at the moment, you did have a whole lot of flower paintings in the gallery. Now you've got a whole lot of my tree paintings there, which yeah, both of those are themes that I paint fairly regularly. But I love the fact that rather than me sort of just making up an idea, sort of thinking, oh, I'm going to take these to Mary, you come and select them. So everything that's on your walls has been chosen by you. You know, I think that's I think that's fairly rare in a gallery owner. I mean, I'm, you know, having not run a gallery myself, obviously, you know, gallery owners will want to know that the work that they've got is of high quality, and they'll want to think that it's something that their customers will love. But actually, for you to actually go around and see the working space of every artist, I think is remarkable. Do you find that makes a big difference in the way that you select?
Yeah, because it gives me time to get to know the person, because some of the artists that are in the gallery I've known for years, because I lived in Suffolk and I was around quite an awful lot of artists, and some of them are here with me, and I do the same process with them. I go and sit and I look at their work, and some of them, because they know me, they know what the next step is, if that makes sense, before we've even got there, because they know me so well. But I still do the same process with them. But it's for me, it's getting to know that artist. It's getting to know how they tick. It's getting to know their because we have a conversation about over coffee, and we have random conversations, but they all make sense to the bigger picture, because I can then have that conversation with the customer about that piece of work, and I'm able to sell it. Because if I don't understand that piece of work and where it's come from and what's inspired that piece of work sometimes, or what's given the energy to put into the colors, the tones, the warmth into that painting, I can't sell it.
No. And that makes a lot of sense.
And the other thing, I didn't want to be this gallery. I didn't want it to be a typical gallery where it's created in a way that is so uniformed, that it's so it's over. I wanted to be a place that's friendly, because in my head, art is for everybody. And I listened to a podcast recently with Holly and Co. She's the founder of Not on the High Street, and she was interviewing the man that owns the Eden Project, and they were talking about, you know, different things over the years. And one thing that triggered with me, and he was talking about, you know, it needs to be a space for everybody. And that's very much, I empathize with that conversation, because this has to be a space for everybody. It has to be affordable. It has to be a place where people can come in and buy that piece of art and go home and enjoy it. But it's not that it's a silly price, because I don't want that for my customers, basically, because art is for everyone in my eyes. So that's where it came from.
That's brilliant. And so lockdown, that must have been really hard because it came within your first year of being in open. So lockdown part 1 came within the first year. So I know that you put everything online. That must have taken a huge push. Did you already have your website?
No, no.
Okay,
so
you had to build a website and get everything online. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to rewind, so there is another person involved in this whole gallery situation. So my other half, Rob, has a love of art as well, and his granddad used to be an artist. So he also is in the background helping me choose artists, if that makes sense, to then for me to then go and look at them. So when it came to lockdown, we kind of were starting to build a website in the background slowly in January, just, you know, teetering around, just to put the workshops on, nothing else. And then he said, maybe we should put 1 or 2 artists on, not to sell the work, he said, but we'll just put the pictures on so that people can start to get a flavor of what's here before they come. I went, oh, okay, let's do that then. Because realistically, going online, I never wanted to do. I wanted to just be an art gallery, selling my works, because I knew that I was going to have my tourists coming through the village, because we used to get about 4 coaches on a Friday, Wednesday and a Friday, but we've lost all of that now because of lockdown. But he said, let's do it. So the day before lockdown, his dad is a photographer, and he was here taking pictures. And basically, he left us his second camera. So we then spent the whole of lockdown, building a website. Luckily, he works in IT, so he knew what he was doing. His work had dried up, so he had the time and space to help me. We took over 400 images. They were renamed, recategorized, and then we phased each artist onto the website. So we're probably at about 90% of what's in the gallery is on our website. And every now and again, we will do an audit just to make sure because things do slip and they do come in, and they just come in and they don't actually hit the website. But we do an audit every now and again to see. So we're working about probably at 90% capacity of what's in here is on the website.
Wow.
But it was complete manic task. And I was so glad.
I can't imagine. Yeah. Mary, I'm amazed, and actually, thank heavens, since we are now in lockdown part 2, that you did do that. I want to just quickly touch on a couple of things, because I can see stupidly I haven't got my power cable here. And my battery on my laptop is running low. So if we do get cut off, I'm terribly sorry. But I think we've probably got about another couple of minutes that we'll be all right on. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your colouring in book project, because this is all for the local community. You're very focused on doing things for the local community, being of benefit to the local community, which I think is lovely, because you have actually really become part of the Finchingfield scene that way. Yeah. Do you want to just tell everybody about that quickly?
Yeah, so the colouring book is something that, again, stems back from my childhood, because I used to have a colouring book. And basically, we used to sit on a Sunday, and there'd be all the cousins around, and we'd be sitting at the big table in the sitting room, and we'd be all colouring in different colouring books. And basically, that's where it came from. The idea came from there. And basically, I want the community and all my artists to draw a picture. We're going to put it into a colouring book. I'm currently designing the front page, which don't ask me what it's going to end up looking like, because I've not finished it yet. Helen Wiseman has done the back page, which is basically a map of Finchingfield and all the different businesses around the area. So that's going to be on the back page, and then me is on the front page, and then there's going to be a little bit of story about me in the inside of the colouring book, and then we're going to sell the colouring book from the 5th of December. We've got a local printer in Sutton Walden is going to do the printing for me. Fingers crossed.
That's
and then we'll go on sale on the 5th of December, and then all the proceeds from the colouring book will go back into the community. And basically the Kramer Fund is the NHS local doctors, and basically we don't have to go to the hospitals to have our DEXA scans, our x-rays, or any of those big ticket items that you usually have to go to the hospital to have done. It is all done in our GP surgery, and we are very lucky that our GP surgery is one of the top 10 in the whole of England. So
wow,
we are very.
So that's where the money is going to go. That's great.
Correct.
And so, Mary, how would you? Can people send them into you digitally? I sent you some digital images this morning, but if you want them printed out, I'll have to print them and put them in the post to you.
No. Digitally is fine. Yeah, digitally is fine. And the closing date is this day next week, so we're not long.
Okay, so I'll put something in a comment. Okay, so I'll put something in a comment. If anybody wants to do a drawing to go into, so you just want a line drawing to go into your community colouring book.
Of anything. It can be of anything.
And so that will then make a contribution to the medical centre in Finchingfield, which is great. That's a real sort of community boost. And also, of course, people will be able to buy the colouring book as a Christmas present.
Exactly.
If you've got any children. Yes, exactly. Fantastic. I mean, we're all looking for good Christmas presents at the moment that actually aren't sort of. I love the idea of buying Christmas presents that are either consumables or that are actually doing some good somewhere, because I think, we've got so used to the whole consumerism stuff that we have to deal with all the time that actually we're starting to move in the other direction. And so this kind of Christmas present, I think, is great, rather than, sort of plastic toys from far away that have actually had to be shipped across the world to get to you. So, and I have to say, I've bought some gifts from your, some ceramics, some beautiful ceramics, and some glassware, glass decorations from the gallery, and I've loved them. And the people that I've gifted them, I have to say, Claire's vase, I didn't gift to anybody. I kept that one because it was so gorgeous. But I've got a couple of ceramics from two of your ceramicists, and I've had some of the glass, and everybody's loved them. So it definitely works. And so I would say to everybody watching, it's the whole support local, support artists, support creators. Have a look at Mary's website, and lockdown part 2. At least she's got her website up, so we can actually all start doing our Christmas shopping on your website. So
and
Mary,
and just before you get cut off, I am willing to do video calls with customers if they want to video call me to do more detailed look around the gallery during this lockdown. By all means, just message me and we can arrange it.
That's great, so people can actually get a better view of the paintings, because that's always a difficult thing if you're buying a painting online. It's great that you would be able to show them the painting on a video call. That's excellent. That's really good. Okay, and then hopefully in a couple of weeks' time they'd actually be able to come to the gallery again. Fingers crossed. Let's hope we all get these numbers, the right numbers going in the right direction.
Right direction. So I can open my doors again so people can come in. Yeah,
fantastic. Mary, thank you so much for being with me this afternoon. It's been really good talking to you.
It's really good.
And best of luck for lockdown part 2, and then obviously for Christmas opening in the gallery. Very different year, but I'm amazed at how brilliantly you've managed to turn things around and create opportunities for people to continue to support local artists. Well done. Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for exhibiting your work here as well.
Well, I love it. Wonky Wheel is one of my favourite galleries, so I'm really pleased to have my work in your gallery and thrilled that you love it this much. So thank you. And see you soon.
See you soon. Take care.
I hope.
Okay. Yeah, we will. Take care.
Okay. Bye.